of Wukong on the ban list was up a lot. Just earlier bans, first phases, I don't think that was just a matchup thing. I expect that to continue as Wukong has really emerged as that carry jungler that is so goddamn OP. On the table for this one, but going to be the Poppy early pick, huge pick for Tarzan, and definitely a deny from Tian and Weibo.
All right, so Tarzan can take that one away. Let's see if Tian decides to just turn with that Wukong like you're talking about. We also see, you know, Rumble still pulling bans on this patch. He has received some significant nerfs. Gwen has also received some significant nerfs to the top side, and both of our top laners definitely like to go towards those meta picks. So we'll see if Gwen is still a viable option. Gotta think it will be, but this is something we were looking for when we were talking about this matchup earlier, Cubby, is Xiaohu getting him on his control-based mid laners, getting him on his comfortable champions, and none really feel more comfortable for him this split than that Taliyah. So that is big that we were able to grab that one up on the red side turn.
I think Taliyah fits perfectly for Xiaohu and this team. Just provides push, pressure, and mobility on the map, the ability to make plays, which he has used very well from the mid lane. So that given over, I mean, the most played for Shanks is now Orianna, and that is a pretty common handshake. So wouldn't be surprised if we get a game of Orianna now coming out of Shanks, as that Wukong is so powerful on this patch has been locked in for Tian. And yeah, the other pick I was going to talk about, going to be that Scion. This is Flandre's most played champion, and I think him in particular has just looked different when he's piloting the Scion. Flandre always been a player that takes advantage of his windows as a top laner to move or not move. I mean, sometimes he just moves for better or worse and cashes in because he's Flandre and, you know, sees the play and AL is able to make it. So him on the Scion, really big pickup. And Gwen is a tough matchup, but you did highlight some of those nerfs. In particular, early game nerfs to the R, as that slow duration now scales. And they also took down some of her base stats, like her base armor, which is pretty important in this matchup.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll get to see right now how much different Gwen looks on this new patch. Like you highlighted, feels like a safer matchup for those tanks, and we're going to see Flandre and Breathe go at it there. But as you can see, we've filled out our top sides on both sides. So we're going to have to start picking away at some of these AD carries. You talked about some of the comfort champions. AL definitely leaning on a lot of theirs. Hope not going to be able to have access to that Kai'Sa. And, well, Cubby, what champions do you want to see maybe banned or pair well with the comps as they've blossomed so far?
I'd like to see, I mean, I like the Rakan ban, as that is very much targeted at the duos. I think that banning away Senna might be smart for AL.
Recently buffed.
Yeah, and also would really help empower the Gwen, the Wukong, would give them some of that range, it's like that backdoor win con, if they want to go for that, as Kai'Sa and Corki, too. Bursty, backline bursty, Kai'Sa's the backline access out of AD. Two picks that you could play in this Senna, if you want to blow that up into the mid-game.
Two comfort picks for Hope as well, right? Those are, his Corki has been by far one of his most picked champions across the split. And like you talked about, that Kai'Sa, it seems like anyone's legend. Yeah, they're just going to round out with getting rid of some of those support pairings so they get Crisp off the Nautilus as well. Now we got to talk about, you know, is there a Rel handshake that's going to come around? Leon is still floating around. Is there a spot for Braum, Alistair? A lot of picks still up there for those supports.
Well, that's the thing. Like with Rel, Leona up, I kind of like what Weibo or AL has done here, because now you blind Gunara. You're waiting to see if the Poppy, we assumed it was going to be jungle, but you're still waiting to see if it's support, because if you blinded Leona or Rel, you could easily shift that to support, and then you have a very different game ahead of you, right? So I think they're kind of forced to pick AD here. And if they want to force the Leona or Rel, they can, but they have to play into Poppy. Even if it's a Poppy jungle, that steadfast presence can still make life very difficult for a champion like Rel. And yeah, I mean, I think it's what the Wukong Taliyah wants to play with and play off of. So I'm expecting Rel to come through for better or worse here for Weibo on 5, and I'm wondering if AL is ready for it. I think I like the Nautilus ban for them. I think Naut has a little bit more power for Weibo with the Taliyah showing, and then not that good in the Wukong or Gwen. Whereas I think the champion like Rel could actually fit AL better if they want to go for that. But of course, could just go for something like a Lulu here. Is Chris willing to Blitzcrank?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's not good in the Sivir, but it's really good in the Orianna and Lulu. I don't think he is. I don't think it's a great game for it. I just don't think that Crisp has a lot of great champions to play. He's probably just going to default to Rel here. But I think Rel has some shortcomings in this game.
You could also, yeah, Leona obviously brings that like non-committal engage threat with the solar flare that you can try and set Tian up. So they're going to go for the Leona
with the Rel. Yeah.
That could be a good look. This is a very interesting spot we are in, though, for anyone's Legend in their first game of the playoffs, right? Because we come into this matchup talking endlessly about how Kael is a huge playmaking threat for this team, has always been, from really the early levels. And now he's on Lulu. So this completely morphs how we expect anyone's Legend to approach a game. This is not a typical AL game we're going to get here with him going for an Enchanter on game 1, even if I do like it with the front line they've built with this Poppy and Sion.
Yeah, look, all I can think about now is Polymorph against Wukong and Gwen. How much value is that Polymorph going to get later on? Because I expect Gwen, Wukong to scale really well, use their items really well, but if they're Polymorph for 2 seconds in a fight, and you have a Sivir or Orianna able to burst them down, DPS them down, that could be a big game changer. Because I think you see Gwen, Yunara, Wukong, you're like, wow, that's a lot of scaling, right? Like, we have to worry about that. But for me, the Sion, Lulu, Orianna, that core, a grouping with 5, I think that they're scaling with using the Lulu and the Polymorph. They don't have as many threats. There's a lot of support around the 2-threat comp that they have. But if they can support that 2-threat comp, I actually prefer them and the scaling they have going late. I just don't think you can overcome a Sion plus a Sivir. It's going to have to be through the side lane with this Gwen. So we'll see what they can do, how big that Gwen can get, and if those nerfs really do have an impact on a matchup where Sion versus Gwen is super free for Gwen historically. So see if that changes anything.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about the game. We need to get these out of the way, Cubby. I'm calling out all you 3-2 AL predictors. You are chickens. I'm stating that now. Looking at you, Lennon, Bloxer, even K-Man. I wasn't expecting that from you, K-Man. You saw the predictions, but here we are. Game 1, AL versus Weibo.
No JOs. All right. We're going to save them for later, maybe.
You're not hearing them? I'm hearing them.
No, I didn't really hear them. All right. That's fine. We had a few. Arena's pretty full. Going to get only more packed throughout the day.
They're going,
this is our first game of a 5-game series. We have 2 best-of-5s today. So if you guys are an LPL fan at home, you're eating good tonight. Excited to join you guys for the first one as Slayer diving into this one. Does look like, based on LPL solo queue, they do like the scaling of Gwen and Wukong, but I still think very valid to point out the value that Lulu might be able to bring to polymorph or buff up the carries to help ensure they can survive that front line later on. I also want to highlight the value of a non-spellbook support. I think a lot of supports have just been opting spellbook. It's been standard. A big part of that, not just the access to all the summoner spells, but also specifically getting access to TP before grubs. That's been a really big part of a lot of grub rotations that teams have used at this time of year. No spellbook access to Kael. He's going Ares, so going to be a very poke-heavy and poke-centric lane, but I expect that means they have to really use the Sion and his power to find the 1v2s and some of these lane swaps early on, or it will be Crisp with his TP later on that will be dictating the swaps in this early game.
That's a very interesting point to make. Is Shanks already looking for a trading flashes here with Xiaohu? The lane we thought would be maybe the most dormant, already looking to burn those summoners. And if you're Tarzan, especially knowing how much more power gank threat that Poppy brings pre-6 compared to that Wukong, curious to see if Tarzan decides to change up his path. He's also pathing away from that bottom lane with push, as we might actually see Tian look to threaten Shanks without that flash first. Actually, he's going to go into the Trickster, look to the jump on, but there isn't enough damage at the level 3 Wukong, so Shanks will survive and now reveal his pathing out of the early jungle.
Yeah, I don't like that from Tian, actually. It was really important that Shanks was able to level up there, because I think the access to E was good, but between the Dissonance and the Phase Rush was able to walk away, but it does force Xiaohu to help Tian secure this. And yeah, I didn't like the look mid, because Poppy can push Wukong around early on. Tarzan already has access to that red buff, so I know the Raptors were easily secured there by Tian, but Tarzan is enabled now because mid was so volatile and once those sideways early. He's unable to do this because his mid laner TP'd back, whereas Xiaohu still has to TP back himself, and meanwhile bot lane...
this bottom lane, it's getting so much worse. Yeah, that's flash out of Crisp, barrier burned, and someone has to help Tian as well.
Ooh, okay.
No flash out of Tian. I
There's
love
no
that
Buckward.
TP back
Yeah.
from Shanks as well to get the mid push going. This
Yes.
is what we talk about with AL and how oppressive they are as an early game team. It's what made them, in my mind, the split 2 champions and a threat on the MSI stage.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't like the Raptor or the gank from Tian mid, because it forced Xiaohu to make sure that Tian could secure his Raptors. He had to go hover, or else Tarzan would have straight pushed him off that camp. That's what opened up Shanks to get a TP advantage, and now the Krugs were taken away by Tian. So it's not enough for him to actually lose out on the red buff. Weibo actually did have to rotate a little bit to support this. Xiaohu TP'd bot, whereas the bot lane walked mid for Weibo. We'll see if they fix their lanes coming out of this. I do like that from Weibo a lot. I think Light and Crisp walking mid was actually necessary for helping ensure Tian to secure his red buff here. I think they actually needed the bot lane here, as they're going to sort their lanes out after this, but a lot of the movement early on, it's already advantage AL. And now with this bot push, because see the bot lane's responding now to Hope and Kael, I'm really wondering if Sivir and Lulu want to find an early swap with the Sion.
Yeah.
They don't need it so far because they've been pushing around this lane, but again, Sion's so powerful in the 1v2, and you can actually really starve out a Gwen if you do pull out an early swap.
Tian looking to get some camps back as he steals away that second bout of Raptors. With the smite, will secure it, but like you talked about, had to have Chris usher him in. AL looking for the collapse, but they are just a bit late here. Maybe have a window to go after this dragon. Tarzan might be able to secure it. He has bottom lane push going for himself, but like you talked about, do they want to play for this early dragon, or do they want to try and set up for a swap, or maybe just overload towards this bot side?
At the moment, the Sion-Gwen matchup, like Sion's still even. As this goes on, Gwen gets really big. Again, I think Lulu Sivir can actually kind of push around, starve out this Gwen, if they're able to play it right. As Tian's going to burn his shadow early, so that means that Tarzan really gets to push him around.
I mean, he's just tormenting this guy early, but did he go a little too far? Could use the steadfast presence to get away from the Zenith blade, but it's a flash over the wall from Tarzan nonetheless. As Chris does a much better job protecting his jungler on his clear this time.
I didn't see if Crisp actually burned his own flash to get over there. I couldn't tell if the steadfast presence like kept on one side of the wall or the other. A little bit goofy there. See when Crisp's flash comes back off cooldown, because it is around the timer that he used it bot early on, right?
Yes. A lot of winning for these champions for AL, and again, a lot of champions I don't feel like we associate a ton with them. You talked about the Tarzan Poppy, yes, and the Shanks, Orianna, maybe the top side, but a bottom lane that doesn't have a lot of stats behind it. It's going to get weird. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to here, Cubby, with Kael on an Enchanter. It still feels weird.
You know what? As someone that watched Kael play with Prince and live sandbox, my one split covering LCK, I'm kind of used to it. As this was a very meta pick and a very meta lane back then. That was the Sivir Zeri meta, right? With a lot of Yuumi, a lot of Lulu. And Kael working with Prince to be the late game teamfight gods that they were, as Live Sandbox were one game away from taking DRX out of, or no, they lost to KT and then KT lost to DRX. DRX was one game away from not even making it to Worlds before they went on that crazy run to win. But Kael, I mean, a support early on, like before he made it over to LPL, his time over at Live Sandbox was of course a rook, but did lane pretty well and learned a lot from Prince, as he's taken that to other teams around him. And we do see the swap coming out. That's a good glitter lance. That's going to get the ult out of Breathe. That takes away a lot of his access to wave clear. And we'll make that swap hurt even more.
Good little cancel, though, onto Flandre. He's going to be lakening back to the bottom lane. So AL making a point to try and set up for these grubs. They want all three of these grubs, and they should secure them pretty comfortably. As you can see Tian on that bot side. But the win here for Weibo is that Light just gets so much free time on this bot side. It's going to actually take the ult out of Flandre to get down there, but Light is able to pick up a couple of waves, gets himself a plate, some solo XP, and you want to get that Unara online as quickly as possibly. Though. This is what you talked about, though, denying Breathe in this 2 versus 1. No needle work. And he's going to actually have to flash away from Tarzan. Here comes the Weaver's Wall out of Xiaohu, and they do have Tarzan caught on the wrong side. He doesn't have flash, remember, but he's got the phase rush, and he's got the Keeper's Verdict to punt Xiaohu back out, and nobody ends up falling.
Yeah, the only loss here is that Light, he crashed the bot wave. He used that to base, so they will lose out on some waves bot. So it still is AL getting ahead on the play because they're able to play out 3 lanes. It was good defense by Xiaohu. Like, I do want to credit Weibo keeping Breathe alive there is big. This Gwen needs to stay on the map, needs to continue to get resources. This is why I like the swap from AL. And Tian's doing his best to answer bot camp. So I think we're seeing a couple of decent moves from each of our teams, but it's AL with a little bit more strength right now in the early game, just given how quickly the Sion Orianna Sivir can delete waves. They're using that to play out more waves, and it gives granting them a bit of an advantage here in this early game.
Light gonna try and stall Tarzan's clear of the enemy top side. It's actually Transcendence Pop. Light wants to battle, but the Shockwave's gonna eat him. He doesn't get the slow out of the Empowered W. And the Zenith Blade not going to land either. So Shanks trading his ult to protect his jungler. But like you talked about, zeros on the kill count, but it's AL that are accruing a significant gold lead as we continue to talk about them getting back to their champion form. This is the kind of way they were able to do so much damage against LPL teams.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they were one of the earliest teams to be playing Sion and playing Sion at a very high level. As it's a champion that I think really fits with Flandre and a lot of the what he brings to the table as a player. Just really good vision when it comes to dropping waves, moving on the map. Skills that Sion can really take advantage of as a champion. Flandre has always gotten a lot out of this champ. He's most played this split for a reason with AL. So, see if I can continue. I do still want to credit Weibo. I think that the way they answered that last play from AL was to the best of their abilities. I mean, they got Tian some camps back, right? This Wukong is even with the Poppy. He's pretty happy about that. Gwen's only a wave behind the Sion. Gwen's going to scale really hard into this game. The question that we're kind of waiting to see is, you know, how impactful is Lulu going to be at peeling this front line back? Or how big is the Moonstone going to be once that comes in? Because Polymorph for Breathe and Tian to deal with could be tough. Light, I could definitely see him getting zoned or spaced out by an Orianna, by a Sion this game. So, some challenges that we'll have to see if Weibo can answer with not as straightforward of a front-to-back team comp showing.
But like you talked about with Light getting phased out, as we look towards these build paths in just a second, we're seeing Light maybe stray a bit from the meta build that you're seeing on Yunara, is likely going to be going for this Blade of the Rune King, recognizing that, hey, yeah, I've got to deal with a tanky Poppy, a tanky Sion. That has to be priority one on this build path. So, veering a bit away from the normal first item spike that we've seen on the limited reps we've gotten from Yunara. First item power spikes starting to come around for some of our members of this game, and Kanik Rookern, what a great pick here from Flandre into the double AP, and knowing especially the Light that Yunara, the power of her passive is bringing some magic damage to that 80 carry kit. So this item is going to get a ton of value for Flandre going forward.
Yeah, also Light actually opting for the Bork build this game on Yunara. We have seen a lot of the Kraken Hurricane. Expecting to see Bork Hurricane here. And then we'll see what Light goes from there. But going to be valuable in the Sion for sure. As Shanks has no flash. Going to have to use it. Xiaohu cannot connect the flip afterwards.
Oh, Shanks! He gets around all the stuns and sends a two-man shockwave right back towards Weibo. The mid laner we were looking to return to that split 2 form is already showing he's got the clicks early on in this series.
That did lose out on the flash, but well played by Shanks. As he's able to answer that wave in full. Doesn't have the TP, so Xiaohu should be able to get that wave in, get a reset from there. So not all bad for Weibo, but good defense played by Shanks to make sure it's nothing more.
Definitely could have been our first kill of the game, but we are steadily approaching plates dropping with zeros in the kill count. And in a game where it feels like both teams scale in a pretty similar fashion. Maybe you give slight edges over to Orianna versus Talia. Maybe if you like the Yunara more into the Sivir, the Gwen more into the Sion. You know, we can start nitpicking, but that kind of turns our focus a bit more towards Dragon stacking as a win con. You got Herald in about 2.5 minutes, but if you're Weibo, after giving up 3 grubs, you would definitely like to grab this Mountain Drake if you can.
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of it, again, when it comes to scaling, I think my focus this game, it's just going to be on the 2 threats. And then also, can you remove Lulu early on? Because Lulu provides a lot of power just throughout a long fight, especially if she ends up going for the Moonstone. There's just a lot of soft power that item provides that people can't see at home, but, you know, fills up those health bars throughout a fight. So, Weibo, I mean, they do have tools, right? With the Leona, with the Wukong, Talia. They can set up and try and take down and find big chunks in these team fights. I think it just is going to be really important that those chunks go on to the right members. Because it is ultimately a 2-threat comp against, I'd say, a 3.5, 4-threat comp here, right?
Yeah. It's going to make fight execution such a big factor in this one. Longer fights, you're going to feel a bit more comfortable with AL maybe, if their tanks can stand up longer, but you've also got the burst of Shanks. It's going to make for some very fun fights to watch once we reach that point, but still want to applaud AL returning to this style that they've been so good at all year long of really slowing the game down until they feel from a draft standpoint they are most comfortable to fight. So in this game, right, it's getting Flandre onto a tank item early. It's getting Shanks to get the Seraph stun, get that skilled up nice. When we talk about Sivir, you always start having conversations about carrying at 3 items. They are buying time for the 2 damage dealing threat like you talked about to accrue those big items to warp this game. Because they don't really need to rely on these picks as much. As you do see Tarzan showing towards that bot side, get Xiaohu to flash away from a shockwave. But AL, they don't need to speed things up yet. They've got time on their side.
That's what we think. I think Lulu is the one that really warps that, as it's going to be a redemption first for Lulu. Redemption first for all of our supports at the moment. We'll say in Redemption Rush meta, Crisp does have a little bit of extra value on the Leona because W gives you resistances and that damage reduction. Whereas we are seeing some supports be quite squishy with Redemption Rush because you don't get resistances from stuff like a Locket. So definitely been a part of the meta right now. Just Redemption's a really powerful item. Supports are blanketing, like just picking this up first, and I really can't blame them. Like this item is just too OP. But it does make them squishier. So catching Lulu, I think a little bit more importance and a little bit more potential value there if Crisp is able to connect.
As we've shifted out of normal lane assignments, one, you're going to see the power of the grubs here with Shanks. He's actually going to force the Weaver's Wall out of Xiaohu just to make sure they don't drop first turret. I want to revisit those Sivir conversations because we always talk about AL as a team that are really good playing at their tempo and recognizing when they can make aggressive stances in the enemy jungle, set up around neutral objectives on those correct timers, and Sivir plays really well into that. So I'm looking at mid lane to see when does Hope get that wave shoved in that Light can't answer just as quick, and how can AL use that to set up around a Rift Herald right now, maybe an Otacon in 4 minutes, or this next Cloud Soul Drake that we're getting. Hold on, we've got Tarzan catching Breathe Out. The flash into the Unstoppable Onslaught. Easy kill secure there for Flandre. And just like that, we have our first bloodshed of the series.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too slow of a pace for most of our long-term LPL fans, but that's okay. It's been a good pace for AL.
We're speeding up now, Cubby. I mean, Xiaohu is taking a huge chunk into Shanks off the shockwave.
He's got no port, no flash.
He's now got him cornered. Just needs to make sure to land the damage here, and he's going to get it done easily. Our mid lane head-to-head, and a solo kill over to Shanks. Oh, TP behind here as well. AL, they're just making plays all across the map. This is classic anyone's legend, not giving anything as the Polymorph shuts down Tian. He still gets the second Cyclone knockup, but he's got the Wild Growth on top of Kael, and Hope is able to free hit, and this is just completely cut down for anyone's legend. They pick up kills all across the map and pick up a delayed ace as well.
I mean, okay, it was a quiet early game, but what do AL now take when they fight? I mean, first off, just beautiful connection on the Breathe. They had a numbers advantage. What else, though? We saw the flash milked out by Shanks against Xiaohu because Tarzan was showing bot 2. He flashed away from the first shockwave. Insta punish in the solo kill. And then the TP back from Flandre just continue to play up numbers as they remove both the solo laners from Weibo early on. Now they removed the Rift, they removed the 2 outer turrets, and just like that, in the span of 90 seconds, AL have cracked this game wide open. It's a 5k gold lead Slayer, and this is looking like the AL that we know and love from the LPL, the one that did win Split 2, and have given the LPL the best chances at international tournaments so far this year.
We're going to look back at, like you talked about from draft, the power of that Polymorph, and the power of the spacing that Tarzan and Flandre provide. It was
redemption.
It feels impossible for Light to really play out any of these fights, and you're seeing why early.
Yeah, that was the other condition that they fought on. They had redemption done, Chris did not. And that is a really significant item to have done versus an enemy support to fight early on, guys. Like, early redemption, we're kind of back in that meta where I do not think it's bad to give supports early kills. Because if you get redemption before the other team does, I mean, that is potentially like 200 plus health per member that is impacted by redemption for fights. If you're fighting with extra 1k health pool at the 15 to 18 minute mark, that is a significant advantage as a team. AL used it very well there with Kael. And now, when you give a gold lead like this to a comp that has Sivir, has Orianna, has Sion, Sion's so tough to move, and all these champions just delete waves. So really tough for Weibo now to get control back over this game to look for any plays, really.
You saw there the gold disparagement between these two teams. Hold on, Tarzan is looking for the shockwave combo with his patented Poppy. Crisp gets 1Z the blade down, but he is dead. The Weaver's Wall comes across, try to cut off the escapes, but look at the polymorph from Kael. It catches Tian before he can even use the Cyclone. Enchanter Kael still finding ways to make plays for anyone's legend, and they are starting to run away like a freight train with this game one.
Yeah, that was that game-breaking scaling tool. That polymorph from Lulu, I mean, again, doesn't matter what items you have. You get turned into a little sheep, or I don't know what it is with this skin, to be honest. But Kael,
something fluffy.
He made Tian quite useless there. That wasn't a terrifying monkey we're used to see. Spin it around with our backlines. That was something fluffy, as you put it. As Fluffy the Dragon going to be taken down here by AL, and that lead continues to build, Slayer.
It's just so awe-inspiring to watch how AL can kind of play games against the way we think LPL likes to approach, you know, these bloodbaths from the start, a lot of team fighting. The patience to be able to recognize when they are strong and can go for these skirmishes, it's what made them such a threat, not just in Split 2, but such a big threat I feel like at the mid-season invitational.
I mean, I didn't realize how much Weibo actually invested for that play. Xiaohu burned Flash. They had a TP come in from Breathe, and that was just not even close to connecting for Weibo. And I'm with you. When AL's at their best, it really does feel like they, brought that next level macro that LCK has, really has that edge over our LPL teams, and they brought that over here. Definitely had some advantage between that.
Oh,
Shanks. Tian can't even get in.
Tian is way too low. He doesn't even get the redemption healing. That means Atacant is off the table here for Weibo. Breathe is posturing towards it, but he's going to watch that big, powerful XP buff run blue in the name of AL here, as they're just picking up everything on the map and running away with this game at light speed. It's up to a 6.5K gold lead at just the 21-minute mark. We were a couple hundred gold apart just about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and I mean, the inventories are just blowing up. Doing a highlight, Horizon Focus did see some buffs on this patch. Notably, a little bit cheaper. Picked up 10 AP, though, with the cheaper price tag. That makes it, I think it's like 250 more gold efficient. I know that LS was talking to Samikin about it. Is Samikin, player we have an NACL that is an artillery mage enjoyer. Definitely.
Love Samikin.
Yeah, Horizon Focus, definitely the item made for artillery mages, because you need that passive to proc with a certain range to get that damage amp and true sight. Curious to see it on the Orianna this game. I don't think that LS is going to be the happiest camper seeing that, as he was still arguing that other items are more efficient. But Horizon Focus definitely got a little bit of love on this patch, so if we see any artillery mages, which Ghost tends to give us, artillery mages a little bit more often, expect to see Horizon Focus coming in second for the inventory. A little bit surprised to see it this game on the Orianna, quite frankly, with Shanks piloting it well.
Nice Shanks sidestep. He hasn't got hit by any of these solar flares just yet. Good steadfast presence to cancel Tian out of his Trickster dash, and there's the shockwave coming across. Shanks is locked in for the playoffs, and AL are right behind him with their laser focus as they find 2 kills with ease. And there's nothing for Weibo to really do right now. I mean, Light's even trying to figure out which escape angle he can really take as Tarzan is hunting him down. Still, a fat 0 on the kill board for Weibo, and there is no indication that will change anytime soon.
This game does not feel competitive, Slayer, as AL, I mean, once they got control, they have not looked back. And the speed at which they've taken the map away from Weibo definitely helped. They got the 3 grubs when they blew things up this quickly, as Breathe now loses his flash off of a poorly placed redemption from Crisp. That was placed better. Maybe they can save Breathe's flash. But it's going to be mid-inner falling throughout the chaos. And it really, like, again, Weibo can't even get a wave past River. Because any wave that you throw out to the middle of the map, it just gets instantly absorbed by Sion, Sivir, or Orianna, right?
I'm glad you pointed that out, because, again, wave control is like the first step into playing not just the AL way. That's what we say in the LPL, but the macro-intensive way is controlling these waves. It's allowing for all these setups where it feels like Weibo are playing 6-on-5 on the map, or Weibo can never really set up as 5. And that's what we've seen in this game, is AL been able to kind of stifle them and take away the real key playmaking that we saw in draft, which was, at least in the early phase, right? This Talia Wukong, this has been such a hot commodity in Split 3. We have yet to see really any playmaking. We've seen defensive Weaver's Walls, we've seen stifled Cyclones thanks to the polymorph of Kael. It's not like it was a draft gap, Cubby. It really feels like the execution is such a big difference.
No, not wrong. And that has been, I think, in a way, a bit of a surprise, but also that's kind of been what's been hampering Weibo. Like, we haven't really felt the Weebs come together as a team this year. And it kind of has left us scratching our heads. Like, we don't know what the real strengths or weaknesses of this team are outside of Breathe and Tian being okay. This is a nice
okay, here
Tian,
we go.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're looking for Kael. He does use the wild growth, but he's getting burned down. The redemption buying some time. Hope's having to deal with Tian on the backside. Light gets through the transcendence, and they pick up a double kill very quickly before the TP flank can really manifest. Shanks, though, will be able to kill off Breathe thanks to his full combo. But there's some fire behind the butts of Weibo.
I mean, again, if you're playing against this 5-stack composition, you have to find a way to present the Scion with angles and find a couple good engages. As Tarzan,
he's getting caught by Crisp. Another kill picked up. Shanks is too late to the flank here, and Flandre's tanky, but he hasn't got that fat of a health bar. Hold on, though. Shanks just deletes Xiaohu, but Flandre does drop off the map. Light is the real true damage dealer left, but look at the damage Shanks brings. He's just throwing down these combos, and Light without Transcendence, I don't think can really compete with Shanks. 2 levels down, and Shanks is trying to will a 1v3 on his own. He's going to look for a flash angle here to let go of Tian. He's actually going after Light first, gets the slow across. Light uses the barrier to buy himself some time, but Shanks picks up the first kill. Tian's far too low to step up. They have to TP in Breathe, but it doesn't matter. Shanks has himself a double kill. We may have just seen the return to elite Shanks already in game 1 of the playoffs.
Yeah, he picked that Orianna, and he's turning back the clocks to where he was at in Split 2 as Shanks. It's his most played this split. He is fed as hell on this Orianna. 7-0-2, 23 pages in the book, too.
That's a full book.
Yeah, he takes away any hope for Weibo to win out on that Dragon, and it is instead going to be AL starting the Baron. Thanks to the delayed kills, the Shanks was able to pick up down numbers. I was surprised that AL ended up fighting that in the long haul, being down numbers, but Shanks being so damn fed early on was able to rip through Weibo, and I gotta say that Horizon focus, big difference between that and the Leandres with the targets that he found in the fight, because he was finding Xiaohu and Light, compared to the Leandres that has like 80 more AP behind it for the Horizon focus, not to mention the damage amp on the passive. So I think it really helped him get through the squishies in that backline and in this game.
Take us back through this sequence though, Cubby, because a lot happened in this 30-second frame.
They found Kael, right? Like, he's on a control ward, but really good scouting from Weibo. Everything connects on the Lulu. They removed Lulu early. Also, that Weaver's Wall was beautiful from Xiaohu. He split the fight. I know Breathe goes down to Shanks, but they won out on the top side. They split up the Lulu and the Sivir from everyone else. I mean, that's exactly what you're hoping for is Weibo. It's just that Shanks owned them in the long haul with the Orianna. And now, I mean, Weibo, that was really their one last breath to kind of make their mark in this game. Baron's down. It's going to be 2 inhibitors to fall. Shanks flashless. He's the first focus.
Magi's. They see the bounty. They want it. Shanks, he's been doing really good sidestepping damage all game long, and he does it again. Breathe just has no juice left in his smoothie to contend with Shanks, and he's going to make it Weibo's problem as he throws a double shockwave right towards their forehead, and Shanks calls game. A triple kill to lock in a 10-0 performance, and AL look like they're right back where they left off in Split 2, dominating LPL teams.
The most played champs for each mid are now off the table, and it is Shanks getting the best of the legendary Xiaohu as he goes legendary in game 1. Tian falls, Light bound to follow, and anyone's legend. They make game 1 look pretty easier.
Just Light left to contend with, looking for his 1v5 marksman moment that he will not get. Anyone's legend, showing they're much buffer than their seeding in game 1.
Yeah, I think the panic meter is a little bit higher on the Weibo side after that one, as AL dominant from Shanks, man. He got a haircut. He's looking sharp there and making sure that he's trimming everyone over there on Weibo down to size. As that would have supposed to be the job of Breathe, but it was kind of the one that Orianna took care of. Is my God. Easy pog vote for that one, Slayer. I think that's a pretty easy call.
Really? I don't know. I mean, what would indicate? Yeah, I mean, we'll see what indicates that later. But I do want to refocus on not just the panic meter, but back to these convos we've had about what sort of anyone's legends we're going to get. It's a really small sample size, but we may have said it endless times during the actual game there, Cubby. That is AL's brand of league that they were struggling to find during the Rumble stage, but 1-0 with that style once again in the playoffs where it matters more.
Yeah, I think that for AL, that is their style in a way. I think that they are a team that plays Sion really well. And we did see just the wave clear they had that they drafted, how they were able to use those windows to do more against Weibo. Because whenever Weibo wanted to make a play, we saw them make that nice play around the Dragon at least. It got to the point really early on in that game where you're dropping so many waves to actually pull stuff off. And that gets concerning later on. Because then you're losing your resources every fight you try to take against an Orianna, a Sivir, and a Sion. The champions do incredibly well with resources. Their ability to pick them up so quick and so early in the map was tough. And yeah, things got out of control after. I mean, look, it was quiet for like 15, 16 minutes. And then in that 2-minute span, AL blew up a 5k gold lead. That's a way to do it. As things kind of fell apart for Weibo there and they could never really recover.
Yeah, that's going to be the funny part, right? Watching back these highlights is I'm sure we're just going to jump right towards that Rift Herald top river fight, but it doesn't really do justice to the sort of setup that AL did to broach that sort of fight on their terms, because it was, you know, the early jungle pathing from Tarzan. He's back just being a maniacal monster, hunting down these jungle timers, punishing even the slightest missteps, right? It really felt like it was one thing, Matt. It was Tian trying to cover for that mid lane gank. It was the one mistake, and Tarzan just kind of ran away with it.
Yeah, that also got Shanks kind of going from there too, because Xiaohu had to drop a couple waves from there, and then once Orianna gets a foothold in that matchup, it is kind of tough for Talia to bounce back. You really need jungle help as Talia going into the Orianna, or else that matchup can look the way that Shanks made it look, as he did a lot. A surprising amount of damage that Light was actually able to sneak in there, as I felt like for a lot of the game he was being peppered and pressured by AL too. But yeah, pretty dominant game one from AL, and yeah, from Poppy first pick, man, they took it away. It's funny. I mean, obviously there's a lot of history between Tian and Tarzan now. It's fun. Right? Yeah. It is kind of funny how inferior, because Poppy's always been a champion. I think both these people play really well. It's funny how inferior that was B1 in game one between these two was the Poppy, making sure that Tarzan got his hands on it and he picks up the win.
Yeah, I wonder if he was, how much he was expecting the Wukong answer, right? Because we were screaming out, you were talking about how much of a priority Wukong has become on 15-17, 25-17, whatever you want to call it, and he gives that one over. We really saw, again, I don't want to call this a draft gap. I think both drafts were pretty closely mirrored and understood what they wanted to do. Ooh. It's just the few things that AL brought to the table to punish this, you know, skirmish-heavy comp, this skirmish-heavy champion from Tian. You're going to see it right here. They used every time properly. It was that polymorph from Kael. We never saw a good Weibo fight, mainly because Tian was always having to deal with turning into, you know, a cute, cuddly nightmare in his own mind.
Yeah, the only good fight was the next one where Xiaohu was able to connect that. Yeah, this one. They found
this is the only time they connected it, right? The only time.
And they removed the polymorph early, right? They removed Hope early. As Tian was able to melt that Sivir in the backline, making Wukong, or Sivir feel the pain of Wukong. Wukong versus AD is always fun. But yeah, I will say a couple things to look out for. I know that this is very early data for LPL 25-17, but Poppy moves to 4-1 after that one. Yunara moves to 3-2 with the loss there. And something else to look out for as we move throughout this. Rakan and Alistar are both undefeated, 5-0 and 6-0 respectively. Wow. What we've seen in Fearless so far. So we'll have to see if that can continue today. See if any trends emerge.
The one downside of this game and how lopsided it was is I don't know that we really got to fully test out our top lane theory, right, Cubby? Because I know when we were setting up for this matchup,
Polymorph throws a hell of a wrench. I didn't even realize that from Xiaohu. He was on the wrong side of the wall for this one, and then that W was just a bit outside. I
mean, Shanks was just gliding. I mean, even though the level 1 top play, right, that he flashes and steps around from, this guy, it was like he saw the moves coming before. He's like Neo in the Matrix, just gliding around all these CC skill shots. Part of the reason why he goes deathless in this game, and like you mentioned earlier, should be the unanimous player of the game here for anyone's legend.
Yeah, that Weaver's or that flick from Xiaohu was just a bit outside, and he was only throwing strikes with those balls over there for Shanks. So
Nice. I was curious how long it would take. I don't know if we've ever gone a full game without making some sort of sports reference, but that's why I
that was actually a movie reference. It's Major League.
Bob
Uecker in the booth, just a bit outside.
Movie in sports. I'll give you that one. That was more entertainment.
It's pop culture adjacent.
Pop culture adjacent. That's what we'll go with. That's a good little marker to bring into this one. Before we get into the player of the game, give that one over to Shanks here, Cubby. Are you ready to take your panic meter down already? I want to give you a chance. I know you had a little bit of panic.
From 1 to 0?
Yeah. Are you ready to kick it down?
No,
I think you should.
The one was actually perfect. Not that I panicked when I saw Lulu die, but there is one moment where you could have panicked if you were an uneducated AL fan.
Fair enough.
If you're an educated AL fan, if they already had the game won from there, yep. Easy does it for Shanks. That's 101 in the MVP counter for playoffs, as that Horizon Focus with the Magi's did a bajillion damage because he never died, and that thing was fully stacked. So congrats to Shanks.
Shanks with a new haircut, got his edges looking sharp and his gameplay looking sharper there. Anyone's legend, showing why they are much bigger and badder than their current seeding after that one. Shanks, what a great performance here, able to set up his squad so darn well. You know what sets up the LPL English squad here on the broadcast so darn well? Well, it's a lot of you guys at home and the support you give us, and most importantly, the support you're able to bring us if you want to become a coffee supporter. If you would like to support LPL English, consider becoming a coffee member. Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project, since the vast majority of your contributions will go directly to the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and content creators. Subscribe to our Coffee. It is linked in the chat below to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. Cubby, Coffee, I'll put it in layman's League of Legends terms, they are the fully stacked Magi's for our broadcast.
True, not wrong. You can even add pages to our Magi's if you become a week coffee subscriber.
You can scale us.
You could scale us. We have to read off more words or more names at the end of our broadcast. We always shout out our elite subscribers. So thanks to everyone that's supporting the LPL English broadcast, whether that is a watch, a comment, a like, a follow, a subscription, whatever it is. Whether it's a coffee subscriber or just tuning in, guys. We really appreciate all the support you've given us throughout the year. It's our last leg here with playoffs. Looking to finish strong with the rest of you, as we're going to be in for a treat, as always, with LPL.
It's the best time of the year for LPL fans here with the playoffs and regional qualifiers.
The stakes,
across the world too. The stakes could not be higher, and so far, ALF have